welcome to the GoPROcast, where we invite business doers who are changing lives by sharing their stories, their strategies and tactics, and who bravely talk about their failures that actually led to their biggest successes. Now it's time to Go Pro with Jeremy Torisk. Hey everybody, thanks for joining this episode of the GoPROcast. Today we have Barbara Rozgonyi with us, and she leads CoryWest Media, a creative marketing and PR consultancy firm that attracts attention and builds brands and connects communities. Named after Barbara's grandmother and mother, CoryWest Media inspires innovation and fuels growth. Barbara is also an international trend speaker, a digital marketing advisor, and a sales leadership guide. Her podcast, called Growing Social Now, just recently launched in 2021. So let's go ahead and bring on my friend, Barbara Rozgonyi, to the podcast.
Hey, Jeremy, it's so great to be here. Thank you so much. I had so much fun meeting you live and in person in Charlotte in June. And now I get to see you today. Well, I see you on a lot of other stuff too, but great to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, you know how it is in social today. We're all really connected, and but it was nice to be face to face with the friends in the NSA Carolinas group when we got together. And I'm proud to be a member of that, even though I'm a South Florida guy. I belong to the FSA down here. I'm on the board here, but a professional member of the NSA Carolinas, and I'm not going anywhere because you guys are instrumental in my being in this position right now here today. So thank you for that.
How did that happen?
Between Kevin, which is one of the books over my shoulders right there, this shoulder, Kevin, Stan, Larry, Mike, yourself, Jane Jenkins, everyone just kind of took me and just gave me all sorts of, attitude and confidence and advice, and just, really made it a very easy transition. It was one of the most different experiences coming into a new industry, because I was in the telco construction for 30 years, and now I'm starting this new one in July. But been about a year I was in NSA Carolinas, just kind of getting my feet wet, and man, it's like jumping into a big pool of love.
It is. It really is. I moved to North Carolina, 2.5 years ago from Illinois, and the NSA Illinois folks were great. And I got here and I thought, I hope they like me. But
impossible not to.
Oh, well, thank you. Yeah. It's nice to get together with everyone.
So I read a little bit, but I want you to explain it because it's really fascinating. It has to do with maybe a Disney blog and a little bit of story behind that. And is this how you got into professional speaking? Do I have that storyline pretty much right?
Actually, I got into professional speaking, which was not in the notes I sent you when I was 5 years old. And it wasn't really professional, but my kindergarten teacher said, if anyone here wants to be the little red hen, please raise your hand. And my first thought was, I might get a new red dress. So I raised my hand, and it was my first time on stage, and I did get a new red dress. And so then I went into ballet, and I was just a performer. I played clarinet, piano, singer, actor, loved all of it. Then I went to college, and I was a sales trainer for my last corporate job I was a national sales trainer for a company owned by Blue Cross and Blue Shield. And my job was to go out and create sales training, which was kind of funny because I'm like this young woman in this room of all these really expert people. And they're like, how do you even know what we're supposed to do? Yeah. But we created great results, up to 400% improvement in some areas. So that was astounding even to me. And the Disney story is a funny one. I have this blog, Wired PR Works. I started back in 2006. And as a mom blogger, you're an influencer, and I use air quotes because I'm a mom. I have 3 kids, but my baby at that point I think he was in high school, and he was almost 6 feet tall. So they were Disney was sponsoring this mom blogger event to see the movie Brave. And so I could bring another mom and another kid, and I wasn't going to go, but I told my friend, and she had a little girl, and she said, oh, she really would love to go. Can we go with you? And so my son goes, I want to go. And I'm like, well, honey, this is about Brave, and you're a big guy. And he goes, I want to go. So we all went. And I felt so bad because Disney paid for our food, and my friend and her daughter and my son. I mean, I'm like, well, maybe I should have like a piece of pizza. They ordered everything on the menu, I swear. And I thought, oh my God, this is so much money. So anyway, I wrote this blog post about, how to be brave with branding. And it was about Disney. And I totally forgot about it, but it was like my gift. Thank you, for having me. That's all it was. And then I got a call from someone who was looking for a keynote speaker for a marketing conference for 400 college communicators. And she wanted me to do a blog. She wanted me to take that blog post and make it a keynote speech. And I was like, are you kidding me? And she said, no, it's really great. And I thought, a blog post is a keynote speech. So I twisted around a little bit, buffed it up, and I did present it at the Fairmont Hotel in Chicago with my daughter in the front row, which was
Wow.
great.
How long was that speech?
About an hour. And then I took the son, who was really tall, on a college visit to Indiana University, and he was ready to go to lunch. And I just about had it with him. And we were on the tour, and the guide said, if you rub the statue's hand, you'll get good luck and maybe a bit of magic. So I rubbed the statue's hand, and I said to my son, okay, let's go get lunch. He didn't want to go to school there. We go to lunch. I look at my phone, and the email that popped up said, your invitation to speak at Walt Disney World. And I thought, oh my gosh, rubbing the statue's hand really worked. So
Wow.
I know. So they said, can you write a speech about social media and Disney magic? So I did. And it was called Beauty and the Beast, Your You and Social Media. So it was for university folks. And so I did take the stage at Walt Disney World. And again, my daughter was there in the front row. And it was just delightful. And it was so much fun because I wove Disney magic into my presentation. And then after that, I thought, well, I really shouldn't say this. But guess what? I was on a platform with a Disney executive, and I pulled him aside and I said, I have a funny question for you. But I told him the whole story. And they said, please tell everyone that story. It's got Disney magic in it. We're really glad you told us.
Yeah. And I loved reading it. And I was like, wow, this is pretty cool because, it's not every day that, and I'm embarrassed to say, I don't really understand what a blog is. It's just a stream of consciousness. People write on the internet, and then you get a following. And I guess there's certain type of topics that people get better at than others. I'm guessing, am I warm?
You're getting there. And, I was at an event last night, a social media event, and people were talking about how blogs are going by the wayside. And that might be true. I have over 1,200 articles I wrote on Wired PR.
Wow.
So yeah, I know I like to write. But the thing about a blog that I liked when I got started was you write articles. And I'd been writing for so many people, I thought I need to write for myself. And so I positioned myself as a reporter who covers conferences, events, and it even got me a ticket on the floor and to do video with Sears at CES. I covered the home business segment. This was back when Sears was really somebody, but it's really a collection of articles. And so now what we're moving into, though, is more video. But for a speaker, the thing, I'll tell you what, though, Jeremy, the thing about that blog is it still ranks great for SEO. And in fact, this afternoon, I have a call with a company who is hiring me to do some sales leadership training for them. And they found me on the internet. They found my blog. They didn't consider any other speaker. They think I'm the expert.
Wow, that's awesome.
Blog. Yeah.
So I think someone suggested to me, because I'm going to do one of these types of interview shows a week and also a talking head, 5-10 minute. They said just transcript the 5 to 10 minute and post it as a blog. Really, that's all that is. And so I thought that was interesting, and it's kind of a cheat, right, to do that. So I'm going to try it. I like to try everything. And
I wouldn't say it's a cheat, though. I would say that, it's a repurposing of content. That's what I would.
There you go. See, and I speak about proactive versus reactive, and you got to champion me to ring my bell sometimes, remind me. So I know we talk a lot about on this show, especially because I've had a lot of ups and downs in my life. And when I was younger, I didn't know how to get up, and I didn't have a lot of things in my life to remind me about how to be, how to get kind of tough and in a way that's resounding or resilient, I should say. So I didn't have a lot of examples of success, but once I got success, you take these failures differently. So I do like to talk about failure in a way that I call them growth landmines. So can you tell us a time where you were going down a path and you stepped on a growth landmine that kind of blew up the path you were on, and you had to turn, go backwards, go around it, but it led to kind of another success that you didn't even see coming because of that? Do you have a story you could share with our audience?
Oh, yeah. I have so many failures. And I just listened to the Shopify Commerce Plus. They had a conference today, and they had Pharrell on there, and he was talking about what failure means to him. And it was so inspiring because really, I think when you dig into, I think what he said was something like, you know who you really are when you fail. That's when the real person comes out. And I'm paraphrasing, that's probably not true. But I do feel like in those moments when you question who you are and you're like, how did I get in these woods? Where am I going? I can't even see my way out, is when you really go inside and you pull yourself up and you really find that direction and that calling, and you really figure out who you are. So it's not that I welcome opportunities like that, but when they come, it's always a good time to set back. And I'll just tell you a couple of things, and I really haven't even written about this or told anyone, but a couple of things have just happened in this past couple of months. I lost all 3 of my websites, including my blog, and it was a hosting error and I had to move them. And I was challenged with, do I let it all go? Because I have these 3 sites, but do I really need them? And that was a moment where I had to sit back and say, do I want to be in this business? Where do I want to go? And it was a time to really value what my business means to me. And I think a lot of times we say, okay, I'm in this business. And it's like, you get in your car, you drive around and you're in your car, but where are you really going and what are you doing?
Yeah.
So I had to decide, what am I going to do? And I had to make some fast decisions because I didn't get any warning that they were being pulled. It was like gone. This has happened to me once before, a long time ago. But so I had to just I said, okay, you've got 2 hours. You have to figure it out. And I had everything done in 2 hours. Doesn't look as pretty. All the images aren't there that were there, but all the content is there. And so that was, that's an example. And then I'll give you another example where, sometimes I think we feel like we just don't, imposter syndrome. We just, is it okay if I tell you a story about that?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Because I think that's very common through a lot of my listeners, for sure.
Oh, yeah. So I was going to enter this contest. It was in 2007. It was just give a LinkedIn tip and you could win something. And I like to enter contests. So as a writer, I didn't want to copy anyone else's. So I decided I wouldn't read anyone else's. I would just write mine. So it came to me, I'm going to write top 10 ways to quickly become a subject matter expert on LinkedIn. So I submitted it. And I was like, wow, I don't know if that's good or not. And I thought, well, now I can compare myself to other people because I entered the contest. Jeremy, everyone had like a sentence or a phrase. No one did what I did. And I was so mad at myself. I was just hoping there was a way I could erase it or take it back, but I couldn't because it was indelible at that point. And I was ready to cry because I thought, I have made a real fool out of myself. I am such an idiot. These other people are so much smarter than me.
Those words are very familiar to me, by the way.
Well, I think, yeah. And I was so down on myself and I hated myself almost, not quite, but I was pretty mad. And I thought, well, okay. And I just knew that I'd blown it. So I waited and they got back to me and they said, well, you didn't win first prize, but you won second prize. And second prize was a trip to Las Vegas to go to Blog World. And so that was that, which was wonderful. And people were like,
melting the walls with that one. That's a good one.
So I won that. But then guess what? This blog post, when they were looking for the LinkedIn expert in the world for a book, Sticks and Stones, about social media, I was positioned as the LinkedIn expert in the entire world because of that blog post. And so then there's more and more stories about how it played out. But recently I went back and looked at that blog post. And one of the things, here's a tip for you. If you are writing or doing anything on social media, headlines are so important. This headline on that post is a 91 out of 100. And I just went, wow, there was really a golden moment when I put that together. There was a golden moment and it really took my career and took it in a completely different path. It gave me the confidence I needed. And I went from thinking, why did I do that? I'm so stupid, to thinking, wow, I must have some pretty good ideas.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because the first story, what I thought of is sometimes the universe has a way of going, you should change direction.
Yeah.
Right. And you think it's a failure and you think, I've just put all this time in. So you just keep pushing forward and fighting the universe, fighting the energy. And that's a huge mistake. And you had a very short window to decide. So that probably helped, right? If you had a week to decide, you might have gone back and forth and vacillated a million times, drove yourself crazy. Where this one, you hit send and you just feel, like you said, just embarrassed and you overthought it and it just wasn't the right thing to do. And I've been there, and I look at that almost as if you're going to come to a party, you'd rather be overdressed than underdressed, you know,
Yeah.
and not one sense everyone has a top 10 list. But where it turns out you were just so hard on yourself, and it defined that moment, and that post defined your, you know, future. And so
It
that
really
was,
did.
you know, that's kind of like the songs writer writing Hey Jude in 10 minutes, you know, that masterpiece, and Paul writes it in 10 minutes. How does that happen? Sometimes these things you feel like it's just the universe going, there you go, there's a gift,
Exactly. It was
you
a
know.
gift. Absolutely. Yeah.
And so I think the key to that is you thought you overthought it, but you really, you know, did a great job. But what if you had overthought it and didn't act and kept going over it and taken away? Or if you got a sneak peek and you would have changed it? Sometimes it's better to put your blinders on, check your gut, hit enter, go, do. Action pays, especially action with consistency.
Oh, for sure.
And your writing, I think, contributed to that because it's so consistently you to do this kind of things.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we're huge on LinkedIn here at our family and our company, the Noodlebergs, which is the other guy over my shoulder, Steve Noodleberg, our coach, our friend. He does LinkedIn like a pro. And so that top 10 LinkedIn, how to stick out on LinkedIn or get noticed, I'm really big on that. And I think we had a discussion about a free giveaway for our listeners. And I asked you if you could provide something like that had to do with that. And you have something like that for our listeners too?
I do. If you go to linkedintobiz.com, you can sign up there. You can grab it there. You go to a landing page and fill in your information, and you'll go to the guide, and you can get started right away.
What's it called again? What's the name?
Linked LINKEDINTOBIZ.com. So linkedintobiz.com.
Great. And I'll put it in the comments when I post this up on wherever it goes, Spotify and all over the clouds. Anything else that you want to have? How can we help you today? How can we want to thank you for being on my show? It's a new show, so I appreciate your contributing to it. But anything you want to leave us with your new show? What's your new show about? Your new podcast?
Oh, my new podcast is Growing Social Now, and I started it really, Jeremy, as a way to talk to friends that I missed that I knew from social media days in Chicago, and just people I see online. But you know, I've known so many folks for so long, and so my most recent podcast that's going to go up in the next day or two is with Leslie Marshall, who's the head of experiential marketing at Morningstar, and she talks about how they were able to deliver an 850-person live event last month. And we talk about social media. It's almost like listening to a mini magazine. We covered so many different things, but it's all about how to grow social now, because I feel like that's one of the biggest mysteries for businesses. Yeah. In fact, I asked my clients, I said, what do you want me to talk about? And they said, we want to know how we can make social work. And so there's a variety of different interviews, and even about people, you know, what are you using to grow your business? What do you use personally? What trends do you see? So, right. And if you want to listen to it, all you have to do, and you should try this, Jeremy. I did this last night at a networking event. I said, I have a radio show. And somebody said, you do? How do I find it? And I said, do you have an iPhone? They said, yes. And I said, okay, say, hey, Siri, can you play the podcast? Oops. And I think here, Siri's better.
That's the most important part. Try it again.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you got to watch it because it really does work.
It's funny. Hey, you know who?
Yeah, exactly. That's a good idea. I have to change the name. Yeah.
But so we'll try that too. And I know that I have this thing. Someone created it. It's called Scans. I'll put it right. It's kind of take you out really quick there. Oh, and I don't even know. I guess take myself back in now, but basically it's a QR code, and it gives you, when someone just holds up their phone, it takes you to all your websites, all your LinkedIn, all your social, all your YouTube channels, everything. It's pretty cool. It gives you your phone number, email address. So I've been putting those up at the end, but I have a little thing on my phone, and we look at each other's phone, open your camera, and they have all my information. So this digital age is so cool to do. If you can't get your brand out there today, you've got bigger problems than running a business. You know, it's never been easier, you know.
Exactly.
And so, well, we appreciate you coming on the GoPROcast show. Again, JeremyTorisk.com. look me up. We'll have a virtual coffee. I talk to anybody, and let me know how I can help you in the future. Appreciate you, Barbara, being on here, and we're gonna go pro now.
Thanks again, Jeremy.
Okay, talk to you soon. All right, thanks for joining us today on the GoPROcast. We are out of here.